You again.
You no longer bear the burden of prophecy. You have achieved your destiny. You are free. The doomed Duima's folly, Lord Dagoth's temptation, the tribunal's seduction, the god's heart freed, the prophecy fulfilled. All fate sealed and sins redeemed. If you have pity, mourn the lost, but let the weeping cease. The blight is gone, and the sun's golden honey gilds the land. Hail, Savior, Hortator, and Nerevarine. Your people look to you for protection. Monster and villains, great and small, still threaten the people of Vardenfell. Enemies and evils abound, yet indomitable will might rid Morrowind of all its ills. For you, our thanks and blessing, our gift and token given. Come, take this thing from the hand of God.
Not exactly the most impressive thing ever. But this one had a far better ending set up. And hopefully it will run correctly. After the Bread Mountain incident, Caius Casidas was brought up upon charges of conspiracy against the Empire. As the Neverine sowed political turmoil amongst the people of Morrowind and collapsing the Imperial connections to local governments, he managed to avoid the Executioner's axe as his skooma addiction fell to blame and was required for his cover story. Gentleman Jim Stacy returned to his homeland in Hammerfell. After decades of living comfortably with his family, a break into his family estate by the Kimona Tong thugs ended with the apparent slaughter of the family. However, the bodies were never actually identified. It's rumored that he and his family continue living in hiding, among those he helped to rescue as a Bog Molamar. Keeping quiet about her actions in the rise of the Neverine, Mira Milo thought she could have lived the rest of her days in quiet solitude in the Vivec City Library. However, things didn't continue to go well for her. Some ill-destroyed notes from Caius Casidas, her link to the downfall of the Tribunal and the Houses, ended with angry vigilantism. Galm Celis found the wrong person cheat out of a game of chance. If witnesses weren't there to see the events, no one would have been able to figure out whose face that once belonged to. Divineth Fur continued to work on the curing Corpus disease. However, with the demise of Dagoth new cases didn't arise. Instead, he continued to care for the last dwarf, Yagram Bagram, until the dwarf's death, a decade later. Creeper disappeared one night in a puff of Daedric smoke, taking all the equipment the Neverine had sold him. In the Oblivion Crisis, many of those weapons were seen in the hands of Lesser Daedra. Louis Bocombe, after retrieving the amulet from the airship wreckage, succumbed to many venereal diseases. He wasn't even cremated, as the city of Alderaan was afraid the ashes spread in the air could have an ill effect on the population. His corpse doused in cure disease potions before tossed in the nearest open lava pit. With the tribunal gone, the legitimacy of the three houses waned. At first they moved to rule through force of will, but as the people saw the previous rulers having shattered into more and more factions, an uprising decimated the noble houses, removing the upper castes completely. The Ashlander tribes, being attributed to the return of the Neverine, initially met with physical hostility due to the collapse of local governments. However, thanks to their nomadic lifestyles, they evaded most attacks to their people. In short time, people bringing swords and spears were changed into people bringing open hands and pleads. Though the nation of Morrowind wouldn't admit as such, they see members of these tribes as unofficial heads of state. Since the campaign of Neverine throughout Vardenfell upon every nook and cranny of the enslavement of the Betmer people, slavery was quickly, unofficially revoked in Morrowind. The few organizations that attempted to traffic people once again were quickly overrun by the Khajiit's wrath, as abolition was made into law by the Bardenfell Confederation. After landfall upon the shores of Sierra Neen, Jube found his calling in the complete eradication of the cliff racers of Bardenfell. In only a handful of years, the Dunmer managed to completely endanger the species. This was not treated as a downside of the population. Rather, his exploits were praised enough that he was canonized as Saint Jube, warrior of the Morrowind skies. Anasi remained with Zarandar for the rest of her days. Though her lover rendered immortal by the Corpus Cure, they never left her side. Having 3 cubs together, the two remained with Peligod outside of occasional trips to their homeland. When Anasi passed, Zarandar took her body back to elsewhere. It's said they stand guard at her memorial, watching ever vigilantly. Despite being unable to grow in the savanna soil, Coda flowers and gold canettes bloom there, year-round.